A martial arts instructor was
a karate instructor.
A martial arts instructor is
a local martial arts instructor is
a former Taekwondo instructor.
An Endicott karate teacher.
A fired martial arts instructor.
A former Hill Country karate instructor will.
An Osceola County karate school owner.
A former martial arts teacher.
When he worked as a karate instructor.
That man happens to be the girl's karate instructor.
The incidents occurred at his martial arts studio.
Police say that it happened inside this karate studio.
Police are investigating a Taekwondo instructor accused of having sex with an underage girl who was one of his students.
A man convicted of molesting a student at a martial arts school where he taught.
He is a registered sex offender, and he is affiliated with a karate studio where there are kids.
He once held a position of trust. Now an Enumclaw martial arts instructor is charged with child rape. A martial arts instructor with ties to Charlotte faces sex crimes in New York.
A martial arts instructor is facing charges tonight amid allegations of child sex abuse.
An Osceola County karate school owner who's charged with more than 80 counts of sexually abusing some of his students is on trial tonight.
A former Taekwondo instructor already facing charges of child porn possession in Colony is now charged with multiple counts of rape.
An Endicott karate teacher pleaded guilty today in Broome County Court and was charged with rape in the 3rd degree.
A Twin Cities man is in an Illinois jail tonight charged with sexually assaulting 3 girls in that state when he worked as a karate instructor.
A man trusted with children will be sentenced today for molesting a student.
Earlier this year, Eric Protas, a karate instructor, pled guilty to several charges.
A man convicted of molesting a student at a martial arts school where he taught has been sentenced to 10 years in prison.
He's back in court. A trusted Yakima karate instructor charged again for child rape. And there's more. Today, Paul Barr is charged not only with 2nd and 3rd degree child rape.
A fired martial arts instructor in Wake County faces charges tonight for having an inappropriate relationship with one of his students.
This time to face sentencing for 3 counts of fondling. The incidents occurred at his martial arts studio in Tupelo.
a local martial arts instructor is under indictment tonight stemming from an incident where he allegedly had sexual contact with a 7-year-old girl.
A former Hill Country karate instructor will serve life in prison for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old student.
And last month, when the mother of the girl told police she caught her daughter with a man who was 27 years old.
That man happens to be the girl's karate instructor.
Local karate coach accused of sexually assaulting a student, John.
And Emily, police say that it happened inside this karate studio.
A former martial arts teacher now stands accused of sex abuse, and police say the case dates back more than a decade, and now they are urging victims to come forward.
A sex assault victim abused as a young boy by his karate instructor is coming forward, and he's urging the governor to sign a bill that would allow victims to continue to pursue old sex abuse claims.
Well, Chuck, the child's mother says the alleged sexual assault happened in an office here at Summit Academy while her daughter was trying on a new martial arts uniform.
The witness cried as she told the jury how she allegedly had sex with Bradley Knight in the office to his karate school in the loft upstairs, and how they allegedly had sex for the first time in a movie theater while they were on a karate school field trip.
State police say Christopher Gallup raped a child under the age of 15 at a home in Rotterdam and also at a Taekwondo school in Dwaynesburg. They say he met the victim at the school.
David Rexer admitted he had sexual intercourse with a 16-year-old female on December 25th of 2005. Rexer was released in his own recognizance and will be sentenced to a 5-year term of probation in February of next year. The female was a student and employee at Rexer's Karate Academy on Washington Avenue in Endicott.
According to the Kane County attorney, the details are disturbing. They allege that Dean Furstenberg gained the trust of 2 girls while he was their teacher at a karate school in South Elgin, Illinois. The charges claim the girls were between 13 and 16 years old, and Furstenberg, now 43, repeatedly assaulted them at the school. Furstenberg was picked up here in Minnesota in August to face charges in Illinois on a different case. He's accused of assaulting a girl in DuPage County, Illinois between 2001 and 2006. That also happened at a karate school.
Eric Protas is an Allied Gardens karate teacher. There was a lot of support for him when he was first arrested last August, but he has since pleaded guilty to more than 24 charges.
The popular karate teacher was accused of molesting one of his students, but Protas said he did nothing wrong, and there was even a Facebook page dedicated to his innocence.
Mr. Protas has compared himself to Jesus and talked about having in the accuser his own Judas. The type of things that Mr. Protas was posting included, among other things, asking people to pray for his accuser, to pray that the accuser would relent and change his story.
But in February, it was Protas who changed his story. He pleaded guilty to 29 felony charges, including committing lewd acts on a child.
Frank DeMaria is accused of making young female students grab his genitals in a self-defense move called the Tiger Claw. Now, we spoke with Master Eric Zavars at Peaceful Dragon on Still Creek Road in Charlotte, and he says DeMaria is a respected grandmaster in Chinese martial arts. He lives in New York, but has taught a clinic at Peaceful Dragon before. Zavars says the Tiger Claw is a move that's a legitimate one, and he would never teach it to a child.
Now, James Allen Butler owned and ran the Academy of Fighting Arts in Albany. He was in court today charged with sodomy, sex abuse, and using a child in a display of sexually explicit conduct.
A former self-defense teacher, now behind bars, accused of preying on a child, unable to defend herself. He was a trusted teacher for more than a decade, showing kids how to defend themselves at his business, the Academy of Fighting Arts School in downtown Albany. A woman in her 20s told Albany police that Butler had sexually abused her when she was a child. Police say the suspected abuse occurred at Butler's Academy of Fighting Arts, which operated between the mid-1980s through 2000.
James Everett Detsky returns to court, this time to face sentencing for 3 counts of fondling. The incidents occurred at his martial arts studio in Tupelo. His sentence, 45 years. 20 he will have to serve day for day. 25 will hang over his head should he step out of line.
We had 3 victims here in our county that we had to look out for. We had to do what was right, and today they at least got some closure to it. And so, we're proud of what the court has done.
The instructor and the 14-year-old student met at East Coast Martial Arts, and investigators say the sexual relationship spanned several months. The tip came into the Department of Social Services in October of last year. Investigators say that 26-year-old Jason Webb was accused of engaging in sexual activity with a 14-year-old girl. According to the charging documents, the teen took classes and was a junior competition coach at East Coast Martial Arts in Edgewater, and Webb was a senior coach and taught some of the 14-year-old's classes. Lee says that Webb went through a background check and was a student at East Coast Martial Arts before he became an instructor. Webb faces several charges, including sex abuse of a minor and second-degree assault.
41-year-old John Duranick was handed his punishment today and still faces trial in 2 other similar cases.
The 41-year-old was convicted in February of sexual battery on a girl under the age of 16. His victim was 14 at the time she says she had sexual contact with Duranick. Police arrested Duranick in 2010 after several girls came forward and claimed the martial arts instructor fondled and had sexual activity with them at this now closed academy in St. Cloud.
Investigators say the 31-year-old Taekwondo teacher is accused of having sex with the 15-year-old girl over several months. WRAL Sloan Heffernan joins us live from our newsroom now with more. Sloan?
Deborah, this search warrant obtained by WRAL details the relationship the instructor allegedly had with the student, including a sexual encounter in a hotel room during a martial arts tournament.
31-year-old Joseph Gales was an instructor at Vision Taekwondo in Fuquay-Varina for 7 years. The operator of the academy says the popular third-degree black belt instructor was suspended immediately after allegations surfaced that he was having an inappropriate relationship with a student. According to this search warrant, the victim, who was 15 at the time, said Gales bought her gifts throughout their relationship, including underwear from Victoria's Secret. The warrant states Gales also bought underwear for another juvenile student. The victim also said she stayed in Gales' hotel room during a Taekwondo tournament in Durham last September.
58-year-old Juan Antonio Lopez is a registered convicted sex offender. His DPS file states he's a self-employed karate instructor who sexually assaulted an 8-year-old girl in 1990. He's not under supervision but is required to register with authorities. As of last week, his photo was on the wall at Family Martial Arts Leadership Academy in the 13,000 block of Western Oak, and on the Academy's website there was a Grandmaster Lopez listed as Dean of Instruction. The Academy gave KENS 5 full access to its facility, its co-owner telling us at first he'd never heard of Lopez.
But he's not here and you don't have that instructor working here?
No.
Okay.
After my encounter with Lopez, we placed a phone call to the Academy. That's when the co-owner changed his story. He confirmed Lopez's wife does work at the Academy and said they use curriculum developed by Mr. Lopez, but he's never on site. Two whistleblowers for this story tell us they've seen Lopez at the Academy. They refuse to go on camera for fear of retaliation.
As far as we can tell, there are no restrictions on Lopez as far as staying away from kids, so a private karate facility could hire him. It's up to authorities to determine whether that company name and address get on that DPS website.
A local martial arts instructor is under indictment tonight, stemming from an incident where he allegedly had sexual contact with a 7-year-old girl. Now, this is YouTube video of 53-year-old Michael Koch. He taught at several YMCAs in the area, as well as using Cincinnati school buildings for Taekwondo classes after hours. His connections with both the Y and CPS have been severed until the case is resolved. The indictment charges that Koch he charges Koch with gross sexual imposition and importuning.
A former Hill Country karate instructor will serve life in prison for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old student. He is 48-year-old Michael Backstrom, convicted Saturday and sentenced late last night. Backstrom taught at the American Taekwondo Association Black Belt Academy in Marble Falls. In addition to the sex assault, he was also found guilty of breaking into the girl's home. Marble Falls police say they don't have any evidence that Backstrom assaulted any of his other students.
Patrick Martin is describing his former karate teacher, Michael Shimabukuro, who filled him with alcohol and sexually abused him repeatedly when he was just 14 years old. Shimabukuro was convicted of 3 counts of sex assault and is now serving a 5-year jail term.
Today, Paul Barr is charged not only with 2nd and 3rd degree child rape.
He's also got a charge of sexual exploitation of a minor. That's a half a dozen charges against the Yakima School of Karate instructor. These allegations surfaced a few weeks ago when Barr's former student told police Barr sexually abused her beginning when she was 12. Since then, police found naked pictures of a 14-year-old on Barr's computer. His neighbors are pretty upset by the whole thing. One telling Action News Today he's afraid for the safety of his teen daughters.
This is a martial arts studio where investigators say Shane Alvarez had sex with a teenager, one of his Taekwondo students. That teenager's mother tells me her daughter started taking lessons from Alvarez in 2009. Court documents say Alvarez had sex with her 3 times at the studio between January and June last year.
He was constantly telling her how beautiful she was. You know, you're good at this, you're great, you're my favorite student.
Today, prosecutors charged Alvarez with child rape.
It's so disturbing.
Alretta tells me her daughter endured months of sexual abuse while attending classes here with other students, and she tells me she's convinced some of those other students may also be victims.
Well, guys, police are checking to see if there might be more victims because dozens of children attend the karate school in Pocono Summit, where Stephen Rementer was an instructor.
Hey, Stephen, what really happened?
This is 27-year-old Stephen Rementer of Tobyhanna after he gave up his right to a preliminary hearing. Rementer is facing child sex charges after police say he raped a 12-year-old girl who was also his karate student. This case is now heading to trial.
The allegations in the case are very disturbing. Also, the allegation that he was her instructor at the time is very disturbing, in that he would have abused that position of trust over the victim.
Police say Pocono Crimson Dragon in Pocono Summit is where Rementer taught dozens of children.
Local karate coach accused of sexually assaulting a student, John.
And Emily, police say that it happened inside this karate studio in Arlington. It has been closed since the coach here was arrested yesterday. The instructor, 52-year-old Thomas Donahue, will be in court accused of sexually assaulting a 7-year-old girl here on several occasions. Police say he'd take the girl into his office after class and have her help him remove his leg brace. That's when they say the assaults took place. Police here now looking for other possible victims.
The instructor works for Shim's Taekwondo Academy in Marietta. He's been there for 8 years. CBS Atlanta's Renee Starzik is live there now with more on the case.
The master of this academy, Young Jin Shim, was supposed to hold classes here tonight. Instead, he is locked up in jail right now facing sex charges. Many of the parents who showed up here had no idea he's in big trouble with the law.
The owner and head instructor, 32-year-old Young Jin Shim, is in jail, accused of having sex with one of his young female students. Police say Shim and the student had some type of relationship. They won't say whether it was forced or consensual. The two allegedly had sex at the studio and at Shim's townhome in Roswell.
Well, Chuck, the child's mother says the alleged sexual assault happened in an office here at Summit Academy while her daughter was trying on a new martial arts uniform. Keep in mind, this little girl is just 10 years old, and her mother says she struggled with that disturbing secret for days.
They always say it's the person right in front of your face that you least expect, but I just never thought it would happen to my child.
Her child, she says, is now a victim of sexual assault, allegedly by this man, 61-year-old Nick Ray Wickerham, a special education teacher at the school, now charged with a felony count of gross sexual imposition, a man this mother says she trusted with her daughter. He was also her martial arts instructor. She says the alleged incident happened twice on a Friday in mid-December.
He had her change her pants in the office, and then he came in and said, let me check to see if they're too tight.
She says from there, Wickerham touched her inappropriately.